Hello and welcome to another episode of Barrel Banter, the show where we gather around after a long day's work, have a sip or two of whiskey, discuss it, and anything else that comes to mind. My name's Chris.
I'm Craig.
I'm John.
And I'm Caleb.
And today we are drinking some Eagle Rare.
Oh, yes.
And I am really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's surprisingly smooth for being at a 90 proof and aged at 10 years.
Really? The age of 10 years?
Yep. Yeah, but I believe the age statement's actually on the bottle, yeah. So this one goes a ways back. I mean, as far as a lot of the traditional bourbons go, it's fairly new. I mean, when did that come about? 1975, I believe, is when it was first introduced.
Really?
It was actually by Seagram's originally, and the creator of this one was Charles L. Beam, who for 22 years was the master distiller at the Four Roses Distillery.
Really?
And then eventually it traded hands several times, and now it's in the hands of the very competent Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Wow.
So what do you guys think? How's the smell?
Lots of honey.
There's no like heat on the nose at all. Like
yeah,
this
definite sweetness.
Yeah, lots of sweet.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
For 90 proof, I mean,
Very
there's no
sweet.
alcohol on the nose at all.
I catch some oak.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, a little. I was gonna say a
I
little
get some
smoky.
oak. I get a little vanilla, a little smoke. You don't get that spiciness, but
Yeah.
rumor has it that it's a really low rye mash bill.
Yeah, I think they say maybe around 10% or less.
Wow. That's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah,
nice.
very smooth.
I was impressed with last week's Four Roses. This takes it up another notch. It's been a long time since I've had Eagle Rare.
There's very minimal burn, and it's 90
Wow.
proof.
This is a dangerous whiskey.
You're telling me.
I'm gonna stand back here and just catch John.
There he goes.
As long as I can take the bottle down.
Now, bottle
Yeah, well,
stand
no,
right
we're
there.
selecting the bottle. John said that someone had mentioned that we should do an episode on this, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We just grab the bottle. No hesitation, no arguments there.
Yeah, we got a little feedback from our last episode, and someone suggested trying some Eagle Rare. So
Yeah.
who am I to say otherwise?
Exactly, right?
Gosh, it's very little caramelly, similar to the last one that we had. It's very creamy.
The Four Roses,
Yeah.
which would make sense.
Yes.
You know,
And now that you've said that, there's a lot of similarities, and it makes sense. What do you guys think?
I think it tastes the way I expect it to from how it smells. Which isn't always the case.
Absolutely.
You know?
A little bit of orange, like a little zestiness to it. It's like
No,
right
it's
on the
not as
front.
fruity as the Four Roses.
Right.
The Four Roses had a real
Fruity,
Fruity.
creamy
kind of character.
Yeah.
A lot of plum, cherry.
There's a little less in terms of complexity going on, but I'm not complaining one bit.
No,
So what's the proof of this?
90.
90. This is
90
90.
proof. Yeah. Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey. So it says right on here how long it's been.
Yeah, down
Yeah,
here.
right.
so-
Oh, aged 10 years.
Now, interesting little fun fact is this is essentially a single barrel, even though it doesn't say so on the label. And the reason for that is they're such purists because of the mass bottling process they now use. There might be like residue in the lines from other bourbons.
Oh.
So,
Really?
and it might get slightly mixed. So they stopped putting single barrel on there. But essentially, this is a single barrel 10-year that you can typically get for $35 or less.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's great. I have to say, after having the first sip, I'm regretting putting a little water in. I wish I would have sipped it with just straight without any water first, just to compare. Because this is like,
I've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 episodes, and I have to say, this one has the least amount of heat right off the top compared to all the other ones we had.
Yeah,
I think Four Roses hit me
A little bit of water seemed to open it up.
Yeah, I do like it with a little water. I feel like ice just straight ruins it.
Yeah. Well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about product photography and the importance of leveraging people like us to make your product shine as bright as it can be. So to kind of continue on that note a little bit, we just wrapped up a photo shoot last week, a food photography photo shoot, and
Went
pretty good.
well.
Yeah.
Went very well.
And there was, it was beautiful. Maybe we'll be able to share some of those images later with you guys.
Once they're released.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you were shooting and what was it for? And-
Shooting plated French fries, basically. Shooting it for point of purchase, which means that the photos had to not only look good on their own, but they have to take into consideration that there's going to be tight printing over the bottom. There's going to be headlines running on it. Had to have room for logos. And so the backgrounds had to be either quite light or quite dark so that those logos and type would stand out while keeping the main product looking, delicious and lush.
So there's a lot of composition.
There's a lot of composition
considerations.
and a lot of, I don't want to say compromise, but a lot of having to tweak things so you get a good composition while you still have the need to have all those spaces laid out in the photo. Because if you don't have those spaces, no matter how good the photo looks, it's useless to the client.
Yeah.
So did you guys shoot it on just white seamless?
No, we shot on backgrounds. We had a large number of goals, which is fairly typical actually for this kind of shot. It needed to be fairly simple, but we wanted it to have a sense of place, so we used some rustic wood and stone backgrounds. The supporting food had to be something that would typically find in any kind of restaurant, so like a fish sandwich, for instance, but it couldn't be too specific a fish sandwich.
Okay.
We had a chicken sandwich, and it was the same idea. It had to be kind of neutral, maybe a little back, a little out of focus, so that different users, could use these shots without it being like, how come I can't order that sandwich?
Right.
You can't just have, for something like that, you really don't want to just have just a plate of French fries, but you can't have so much else going on that it becomes distracting
Right.
or it becomes irrelevant to the end user.
Now the styling, did you, how tedious, how specific were you guys with how everything fell?
It's pretty specific, especially the fries, because they're in the foreground, they're in focus. The art director here that worked on this with me has had, 30 years probably experience working with food and especially with French fries. So he's very meticulous, and he always does the final styling on it. Again, the sandwiches, I worked on the styling on that. And again, it was just to make it pretty, to have some color back there, but nothing, again, overpowering the main item.
It's pretty interesting too. I noticed at times you guys had several trays of sides that you had freshly fried and were
Yeah.
picking through them looking for the best ones.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's another thing. It's not just the best ones, because
Right. The
we can't
color
have,
consistency.
but we can't have a whole plate of French fries that are, this long and perfect. You still have to represent the product. So
Right.
you're looking for ones, representative sizes, but without blemishes, and ones that didn't curl funny in the fryer.
Okay.
So it's more than just going, oh, well, here's 20 beautiful French fries. Yeah, but then they don't represent the product at all.
Yeah, they have to have variation. It has to look natural still.
And not just
When we're
grabbing a
talking about
heap of
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground there. Well, cool. So that was just a little bit of insight into product photography and all the many facets that go into creating a beautiful image.
Yep.
Before we wrap this up, any final thoughts on Eagle Rare?
Delicious.
Very good.
Yeah. Always a thumbs up for me.
Great suggestion, viewer.
Excellent suggestion. I'd
Whoever that was, we cheers to you.
cheers to you.
All right.
I think
Thanks
we need
again.
to try everything from this distillery.
Line them up.
Line 'em up.
Back.
That'd be a task.
Challenge accepted.
An expensive
Challenge accepted.
Challenge.
Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode of Barrel Banter. We'll catch you next week.
Yeah.